my last page of notes on this, I think I mentioned the Spotify Artist of the Year thing about the earthquake earlier, where there's an earthquake on a mountain, which could be a reference to Swiftquake, but and then the way it pans from the sea up to the sky made me think of Purgatory, because I think it's fun. Is there thunder? I still need to check that. Is there thunder? I talked about the lightning earlier. Yeah. This reminded me of this, just a storm inside a teacup. This idea of time and life, and you have to go through these trials and tribulations going through the Inferno and in Purgatory, but he has this, Virgil is the poet, who's constantly telling him to calm down, and constantly telling him it's okay, we just gotta keep going, just keep remembering that you want to get to paradise, that you want to see Beatrice. Anytime Dante falters, he's like, this is just a temporary setback. And that's basically what Purgatory is in general. Purgatory is just a temporary setback, because anyone who has repented of anything right before they die gets into Purgatory, and they just kind of have to wait for a while to get into to paradise. So not many people directly get into paradise, but they have to usually get a little bit more of their stresses out in Purgatory. So it's just kind of a waiting room where you have to do some light activity for a while. And there's all these other things of like he says, like, if you have family members that are still alive and praying for you or doing good deeds and like in honor of you and stuff, that can diminish your time in Purgatory and all that. So time is a currency, but time is just temporary. And then you will get to the quantum realm that is beyond space and time, that is paradise, which you live in the eternal mind of God in the universe, and you're blissed out all the time. So, not too bad of a deal. Let's see. And you can untwist love to lead you to right behavior and connection to the divine. When Dante makes it through Purgatory, Virgil says, okay, we have to say goodbye, but now you're a better guide than I could ever be, and you've untwisted all of these stresses that were in you. And you're the sovereign. You're now like completely aligned with the will of the universe. And then he refines that even more in Paradise. And then dancing through the lightning strikes also reminded me of this thing which I said before when she did Lavender Haze. It really reminds me of this thing that happens in Purgatory. I guess it's 10. Purgatory on the Terrace of Pride. There are these living statues. So they're kind of like gifts, but they're kind of like statues. These like statues that move and are animated. So they have two different scenes. And they have a classical scene and a biblical scene, and then like a scene about Mary. So the one about Pride is about David dancing unrestrainedly and humbly, full of humility, before the Ark of the Covenant that he's taking to build the temple. And he has his wife who's kind of like she's kind of like status and propriety obsessed, and she says, why, you're a king, you should have more pride than that, you shouldn't just be like dancing around in a tiny robe before God, like spraying incense everywhere. And he's like, no, this is an appropriate level of humility. So that, I felt like that was like a reference to her dancing around with the incense amongst the coven people. Reminded me of that. But the idea of like dancing through lightning or dancing through this sort of like adversity humbly, because that's like a way of reaching enlightenment, or a way of like, sort of modeling an approach to life. That whatever happens, you just keep on dancing. So alchemy, and I already talked about the alchemy of the opalite, so that might be it for this